You tell me the story.
I was around, I think, 10, 11 there. Kibera is a tough place. I didn't want to be a thief. I was stealing one mango because I was hungry. And mob justice, they jump on me, mwizi, mwizi, which means Swahili, thief, thief. I knew at that moment I'm dead. So then this man walks in and be like, stop, stop. Why are you beating this kid? And then he says he's going to pay it. At that moment, I saw the good in humanity. Despite us living in a tough life, there is always good of humanity. And that really changed the way I see things.
Now you have 1,000 staff members and you're helping millions of people. The ripple of a small act of kindness. One man buys a mango,
Yes.
and millions of people get fresh water. Hey, Kennedy.
Hey, Simon, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for...
Where are you?
I'm in Nairobi.
I'm going to start with a question that's disconnected to our interview, our discussion. Tell me something that you're optimistic about in the world.
I'm really optimistic about the world is the youth. Gives me hope. I just feel like you can see that they are not giving up, right? And as someone who is coming from African continent, whereby most of our leaders, they have really taken us around and around, and you see these young people becoming innovative. They are doing startups. They are doing charities. They are getting into leadership, so that's something good.
One of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you is I was in Nairobi in June, and I drove past the Kibera slum. It is huge. It was amazing to me how big it is and how many people live there and go to work there every day. And I know that that's where you grew up and that you were able to lift yourself out of poverty and go into the world and do amazing things. But the reason I wanted to talk to you in particular is you are a perfect example of, whether you want to call it divine intervention or luck, where your life is going in one direction and something intervenes to change the direction suddenly. That here you are, this kid in the slum, you steal a mango.
Yes.
So you tell me the story. I know it just from reading about it.
I know this story. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. I was around, I think, 10, 11 there. And what happened for me is growing up in poverty. As you know, you pass through Kibera. It is a tough place, right?
Yeah.
It's really tough and everything is scarce, right? Food is scarce. There was no clean water. There was no toilets around. People really live as if they are refugee in their own country. And
Right.
I didn't want to be a thief. I was stealing one mango because I was hungry. And mob justice, they jump on me, mwizi, mwizi, which means Swahili, thief, thief. And I'm a baby, man, and I knew at that moment I'm dead. Because in my community, I have seen people who live in tough places, they put their anger into something small. So when they see a thief, we see them being killed, right? So I say, you know what? I'm done just for this. Like, oh God, I was just for me just to eat. So then this man walks in and be like, stop, stop. Why are you beating this kid? Why are you beating this kid? And then he says he's going to pay it. And then how many mangoes? There's one. It was everyone was felt ashamed, even those who were beating me, right? And for me, at that moment, I saw the good in humanity. But that moment for me was like, who are you? He said the word, I'm a good Samaritan.
I'm a good Samaritan, he said.
Yes. I don't know his name. I never met him again.
Wow.
And for me, I think that was a moment, despite us living in a tough life, there is always good of humanity. Most people do things to get something back, right? This is a man who didn't care, right? So he took me for shopping on the street, buying me some more food. And that really changed the way I see things. That was a very, very important moment in my life.
So here you are, 10 or 11 years old. You learn this lesson of intervention and helping and doing good for someone. And as you said, he left. He was a figment of your imagination after that. You don't know his name. You don't know who he is. It was this intervention that changed the course of your life. And we'll get to the work you've done as an adult, but as a boy, you're 11 years old. How does that show up in your life now? How does that interaction affect you in your childhood? What were you like before that event? What did you start to become like after that event?
So after that event, it planted something in me. I started taking life very special.
Yeah.
For me, it's not a joke because I've seen other kids being killed. I've seen people who steal just a wallet, being put a tire on them and being banned. So as a kid, I've been traumatized by mob justice, right? But I never knew it would happen.
I just need to restate this. I need people to understand that this is not just beating a kid up because they were a thief. You saw somebody who stole a wallet and they put a tire around his body and then set him on fire.
I set him on fire. And it's not once, several times. And I've seen people beaten to death with stones, people just raining on you, right? So for me, I could be dead.
Yep.
And nothing they do because you can't arrest everybody. That done. He was a thief. We are teaching that kid a lesson.
Yeah.
Right?
Or more likely teaching all the other kids a lesson.
Yes, right? And it's interesting. Simon, let's go back again. This I never thought about it much as we're now coming to my head because sometimes we do things in our life without really connecting to, because the life I lived in is next, is hustling life. But here, there's two things. People are bad and people are good. The same human being want to kill you because you're hungry for stealing one mango without asking why you beating this kid. And then again, another person is like, no, you are in anger for why people are so mean. People are so mean. And then again, you're like, wow, there is hope. Yeah. Right? Someone really saved my life. And this for me now depends.
Yeah.
Do I want to focus that I was beaten to death?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Simon, that plays less in my life. What captures me is a good Samaritan saved my life. Right? And I start seeing life in that way. Or I could be an angry man who doesn't want to do anything because people were mean to me. People wanted to kill me. And then because I focus on Good Samaritan, it planted something in me of doing good. Mm-hmm. And you can see the history of my work moving on. There was nothing of gaining back. No. You do good because you're supposed to do good. You do good because a Good Samaritan that I don't know, not my relative, not my friend, their name will not be written in any book. Their name will not be written in any university building. Okay, as I do in the Western world, but their names is written in my heart and the generation that will hear this story. So for me, that's very powerful. And I use that story a lot in my communities.
It's rich. Let's just flash forward a little bit, but I want to come back here. Let's flash forward a little bit. So how old were you when you started your charity?
15 years old.
Oh my God. So you're 15 years old and you started charity. And what was the initial intention of the charity? And you're still living in Kibera in Nairobi when you're 15 years old.
Yes.
And you started, so you're the poor kid who then decides to become a Good Samaritan. What does the original charity do?
So I really became very generous. And my mom can say that. I will give my sweater when people are cold. Even my mom will be mad at me. Why do you give your sweater away? I'm like, Mom, that kid did not have a sweater. Okay. So even my mother, who I love so much, who believe in giving, thought I was too extreme. So this thing was planted in me slowly by slowly, but it was not structured, right? So what happened is that when I grow, I came with this idea, how can I do something that really having a bigger impact? Not just giving my sweater, not just giving one food here, like that as a kid, right? So Dr. King really inspired me, the story of Dr. King. So I fell in love with books of hope. The way I was able to stop using drugs. Even though I was saved by this Good Samaritan, society was still tough. Why I was into drugs was to run away from the pain. The pain of dealing with this thing every day. So every time we use those drugs, you forget it. So then what happened to me, which I'm so lucky, is when I fell in love with books, they became my drugs. I could read, and I forget my poverty, and I will be with Dr. King in America. Okay? I'll be in the non-violence struggle, just through books. I will be with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. It was inspiring me. So everything I was doing was I was trying to imply them into my life. So in Kibera, we love football or soccer, as they call it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the more I learned about Dr. King, I got so inspired. Like, he used what he had. What this man had was a church. Okay? In a small church in Alabama, a young man rose. And as from a small church, it became civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
It became what changed America. So I said, I can't be a preacher. I'm not a good preacher, Kennedy. But I love this man. What do I do in my life in Kibera? Then I say, by then, African Americans, black people, they wanted to be together. So through church, that's what there was there. To give them hope, love, caring. But about Kibera, my friend, we love soccer. So that's when I bought a soccer ball with 20 cents. And I said, Dr. King, me, I start from what we have. We have soccer. We love soccer. And SHOFCO was founded from soccer.
And so basically what you did is you invited kids to come and play.
Yeah. And then we wanted a place that we can be secure, safe, and share. Okay? It was amazing soccer, whereby there's girls and boys. And then from there, we could play soccer and also go do cleanup in Kibera. So Kibera, we did cleanup. It was about service, you know. And I'll be honest with you, really, it was a therapy. It was amazing, Simon. Just I don't know why people who are mean with their money and wealth. I feel sorry for them. There is joy. There is this joy when you are doing something, right? So although we were poor, but when we go to the streets and clean up, we were like heroes. And I felt like, wow, we are doing something positive. Slowly by slowly, we were able to start helping kids with their homework. Slowly by slowly, we were able to start helping women. Slowly by slowly, SHOFCO started growing to other things, right? Because we felt the joy. Because what poverty did for you, poverty makes you feel unseen. Begging, oh, I'm poor. But here, Simon, we are like, we are the service. We are here to give. And honestly, up to now, we received a lot. And that's how we were able to build SHOFCO.
Is SHOFCO still only working in Kenya, or are you working all across Africa? Where are you located?
Now we are in, our headquarters is in Kibera, and we are in 35 counties in Kenya. So we have 47 counties in Kenya, but we are now in 35. And it has just grown with over 1,000 staff.
1,000 staff?
Yeah.
How many people have you helped? And you're building toilets, and you're doing basic stuff.
Yes,
what we consider, for those who live in the first world, basic stuff. Yes. But as you said, when you grew up, no toilets, no clean water, all of that stuff, and you're bringing these basic needs into people's lives.
Yes, and I also saw something interesting. I also saw the power of unity. Is something that I really believe in. You cannot do anything alone. You cannot. Okay. And you see my work, as you can follow up a little bit, you'll see that I believe in ownership. Now we are serving over 4 million people, but everyone in the community, they feel ownership. They have to own it. That's kind of what I really believe in. Yeah.
There's so many thoughts going through my head right now. Are you familiar with the chemical in the human body called oxytocin?
I've heard about it, yes.
So this chemical in our body called oxytocin is responsible for our feelings of love, our feeling of friendship, our feelings of loyalty. It's all of the mushy human stuff.
Yes.
And there are many healthy ways to get oxytocin. Physical contact is one of them. Another way to get oxytocin is through acts of service. That when we do something nice for someone with no expectation of anything in return,
yes.
In other words, it's not a transaction, to your point.
Yes.
Then the reward isn't money. The reward is oxytocin. The reward is, I feel good. It feels nice to do something for someone. When someone is on the receiving end of an act of generosity, somebody does something nice for you and doesn't ask for anything back, yes. You feel good.
You feel too, yeah. Yes.
You get oxytocin, right?
Yeah.
And the more oxytocin you have in your body, the more generous you actually want to become. It's
Yes, you
Mother
got it.
Nature's way of trying to get us to look after each other. That when people are good to us, we actually biologically want to be good to other people. And so as this young age, this man who intervenes and does an act of kindness and generosity with no expectation of anything in return, he pays for your mango, then takes you shopping to buy you more food. The profound impact you have is it feels so powerful to be given something that it actually makes you want to do it more. And my favorite thing about oxytocin is that when you witness an act of generosity or hear the story of an act of generosity, you get oxytocin. In other words, me hearing your story and us sharing your story makes
Yes.
people feel good.
You also feel it.
And so sharing the story is as valuable as the actual work you're doing. And your work proves it, which is, if you think about it, the amount of charities or businesses that start where we're going to solve this huge problem and they try and build a plan. And you did it very simply. You did what is the cheapest, simplest thing I can do with the highest probability of success that makes me generous to someone. I can buy a 20-cent soccer ball and I can take a bunch of kids to play football and we will play. And at the end, I will ask them to help clean up the slum. And they will have fun as friends, but more importantly, they get the joy of doing something that other people say you were part of cleaning it up. Thank you.
Yes.
And then you discover that over the course of time, you start to find something else you could do, and you start to find something else you could do. And before you know it, you're servicing millions of people and you've got 1,000 staff members, which was never the vision. I'm struck by that. I'm also struck by your point of view about what we focus on is what we become. You could have been the victim and said, I was beaten up and I hate that. And you said it. When people have nothing and you feel like you have no control over your life,
it's true.
You try to find anything that you can control to make you feel like you have some sort of agency. You talk about addiction. And addiction, you said, was important because it helped you forget about poverty.
Yes.
And the new addiction became giving. And service helped you forget about poverty, except it's more socially constructive than taking drugs.
Yes.
One is selfish, one is selfless. One is pro-social, while the other one is anti-social.
Yes. You start, what puts you down make you feel useless? There is this feeling, as you call it, like, wow, shoulder high, your head's high, out of the sand.
Yeah.
I am part of solution. I am part of change. While the other side is you're sad, somebody's helping you, So I think it really helped me so much to feel like, I'm not poor. Who say poverty? And up to now, with me and my friends from Kibera, up to now we say that poverty is not just materials. You can be the most richest man in the world, but you are so poor, right? You are so poor.
I need you to say more about that. I need you to say more about that. Tell me what you mean. You say that you can meet the richest man in the world and they will feel poor, but you can be poor in Kibera and you can feel rich.
I'll tell you something simple. Despite our struggle in Kibera, we saw wealth because Simon said something powerful people forget about: love. My friend, when you have love, love produces kindness, love produces service. That's wealth. Okay, and you feel light. Anytime I get angry, honestly, I'll be honest with you, I feel heavy. Okay. I feel so heavy. Anytime, Simon, I'm so happy. I'm like, hi, Simon. How are you doing? Hi, Kennedy. Right? So the story about that, for me, that is wealth. And we always forget that wealth is materialistic. No, anybody can be wealthy by stealing, by doing corrupt deals, right? And you can be wealthy. But it takes some work to be a person of love. And love comes through experience. Love comes through your mother dying from cancer. Love comes through beaten to stealing a mango. Love comes from, it comes from pain. If you know how to master it, it turns into love, right? And that's wealth. So when I look around Kibera, I saw a lot of wealth, honestly. For example, I went to America to study. People don't know their neighbor. I'm like, that's poverty. You don't know your neighbor? That's poverty. My friend in Kibera, I can work with the Kibera like, oh, that's so and so, that's so and so. If I need a salt, I will go get some salt there. If I need some food, I can knock this door. When I went to America, that's the thing I missed. I missed that part. People not saying hi to you. You go to America, none of my business. You are in what you call elevator. People are just sad. I'm like, I used to be like, hey, how are you? Morning. People don't want to talk. I'm like, what is going on here? Anyways, I don't want to be too crazy.
No. Okay, no. Here, this is what I'm learning from you, right? That you are making the distinction between being rich and feeling rich. There's a lot of wealthy people in the world. They may have wealth, but do they feel wealth? And I would argue no, because that's why they keep trying to add to their wealth, thinking that the feeling will come. They keep thinking that if I make more, eventually I will feel rich. I think that in the West, we have wealth, but we don't feel wealthy.
Yes.
And we are addicted. We have the same addiction that you had as a young boy in Kibera. We are addicted to money. And it helps us feel like we don't have to think about the stress and the strain and the lack of love in our lives and the lack of friendship and the fact that I don't know my neighbor and the fact that I get angry at things and I walk, and I love what you said. When I'm angry, I'm heavy. When I'm happy, I'm light. You said it. And we carry, and we're addicted to money. We're addicted to the material. And we in the West come to Africa. We drive past the slums in Nairobi and we say to them, they're so poor. I feel so sorry for them. Look at them, which is the same thing as a drug addict looking at everybody who's not a drug addict saying, I feel so sorry for everybody that you don't have high. That you don't feel high like I feel high right now. I feel so sorry for you. And yet these poor Africans are looking at us going, you idiots, you're all addicted to drugs.
Yes. It's true.
And we may have struggle, but we have lightness. We may have struggle, but we have love. We may have struggle, but we feel wealthy. And you have so much more than us, and yet you are so sad and heavy.
You're so sad.
And you are addicted to money, thinking that that is what will alleviate your pain, but all it is doing is hiding it.
Yes.
And you are living proof of that. And I think the West can learn more from a slum in Nairobi.
It's true.
Than the people in the slum of Nairobi can learn from the West. Because trying to emulate the way we live our lives just makes you heavy.
It's true.
And just makes you addicted to the wrong thing to hide your pain.
So I think the West believes in individualism.
Yeah.
Africa has something called Ubuntu spirit. You are because I am, and I am because you are. Is that powerful? So when you believe that, your neighbor is there because the interconnection. So, and I think that has been when you come to Africa, you come to Kenya, you see that connection. Because I know the Ubuntu spirit, right? We are coexisted. You can't live by yourself, Simon, no matter how wealthy you are. Yep. You can't live in an island. How would you do now? Only someone in this world. You with your old money, Simon. And okay, Simon, you know what? Live by yourself. You'll be the most sad person in the world, right? Yeah. So, but Africa knows that we are like, you know what? We have to coexist together. So that's why tomorrow you're going to come for sugar. Today you give you salt, right? So some people in America told me that after the Second World War, when people started getting rich, communal started going away. So I think maybe, Simon, money is the problem. Wealth. Too much wealth in America. Too much wealth in the West. Okay? I think it's the time now to start thinking about that. Don't let wealth control you. Control the wealth. Otherwise, the world's going to lose something big. I don't know anything about that. That's my theory.
The addiction. The West overdid it on individualism. Yes. And I know there's an African proverb, to go fast, go alone. To go far, go together.
Yes.
And there's this, you said the Ubuntu spirit.
Yes.
Which is
Ubuntu spirit, yes.
We are better than I.
Yes.
I am you because you are me, and you are me because I am you.
Yes.
That we are a community, and the community will take care of each other. And you see this in poor neighborhoods a lot. I tell me if Kibera is the same. I went I spent the day at Dharavi, which is the largest slum in Mumbai, in India. And just to give people a sense of how dense the population is, the island of Manhattan in New York City is 26 square miles. And the population of Manhattan, the people who live on that island, is 1.5 million. And anybody who's ever been to New York City, you know what that density feels like.
Yes.
Whereas in Mumbai, in Dharavi, it's 1 square mile.
Yes.
And it's between 750,000 and 1 million people. They're not 100% sure. Okay? So the people are living on top of each other, literally. Right?
Wow.
It is so dense, and you understand why disease spreads so quickly.
Yes.
And when you walk through it, the water is filthy, and there's live power lines that if you have to duck your head. If you accidentally touch one, you'll die.
Yes.
You know? But I saw an entrepreneurial spirit that was electric.
Yes.
Because there's no sophisticated welfare system in India because the country's too big.
Yes.
And so, you know, in the West, if you don't have a job, you won't die. Yes. You know, the odds of you dying if you don't have a job is very low. You may go live on a friend's couch. There's a church who may take you in. There's a charity that might feed you. There's, you know, death is not the obvious thing if you lose your job. It may feel that way, but in reality, it's not going to happen. Whereas in India, because there's no welfare and there's not a lot of wealth to go around, that if you lose your job, if you have nothing, you probably will die. Like there's like the options are slim, and so it becomes this fantastic entrepreneurial hustle culture, where because I don't want to die, I'm going to go into the city center and I'm going to take all the plastic out of the garbage, and then I'm going to come back to Dharavi and I'm going to sell it, and somebody will buy the plastic and they'll sort it, and somebody else will melt it and make it into pellets. Then somebody else will take it back into industry, and they all help each other. And it's this amazing entrepreneurial spirit. And I saw laughter and I saw happiness. I saw struggle, but to your point, I saw people working together to make it work. And it was really inspiring.
So something else I want to ask you, Simon, now. It's very interesting. You can give me an answer. So right now, I felt when I was living in Kibera, in the toughest life, I was more aware, more connected to my soul. Right now, I have water, I have food, I don't worry about it. I feel that I have to struggle to connect to my soul. What do you think is the problem?
I think there's two kinds of struggle.
Yes.
And it goes back to that magical chemical of oxytocin.
Yes.
Right? One of the things that produces oxytocin is shared hardship. So when people go into battle together, it makes them feel closer. When a family goes through tragedy together, it makes the family closer. And I think, to your point, in the West, the struggle we tend to go through is individual struggle. And when we struggle by ourselves, it does not produce the feelings of friendship and oxytocin and connectedness. It exacerbates the feeling of loneliness and despair.
Wow.
And I think your analogy of the neighbor is that when I am depleted of eggs, when I am depleted of salt, when I am depleted of joy, when I am depleted of energy, when I am depleted of hope, loneliness, depression, the one thing that we are not doing is going to our neighbors and saying, can you give me some hope?
Yes.
And that's the thing we haven't learned in the West. And the more we learn to ask for eggs, literally, not metaphorically, the more we learn to ask for eggs from our neighbor, the easier it will become to ask for hope when we run out of that as well.
To add on that, so people in Kibera were so surprised when we read in a newspaper that somewhere in New York and London, somebody died in a house for 2 months, not been found. And we asked ourselves, what the hell? In my community, we were like, I've not seen Kennedy. I've not seen Kennedy. Is Kennedy okay? It's common. We ask that. Hey, I've not seen Mama Kennedy. We call Mama, mother of so and so. I've not seen the father of so and so. What's happening? So when we read those news in Kibera, we were like, this is crazy. How can that happen?
Yeah.
And they were living in an apartment, which for us was a big deal. Like, it's a building, right? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
So nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no one they can talk to. And yet they were
Yeah.
there. He's so nearer and yet so far. So I got your point. Wow.
I just think this whole thing about being wealthy and feeling wealthy, because the things that we're struggling with in the West right now, loneliness at epidemic proportions, suicide is up, people are struggling, and everybody's looking somewhere. We're trying to do yoga, and we're doing ketamine and mushrooms, and we're doing all of these things to try and alleviate our feelings of despair and loneliness and lack of hope. You can see people grasping, right, on the political spectrums on the left or the right. It's not grounded in any larger vision. It's just looking desperately to feel a part of something that gives my life meaning. And when you talk to those people who are in those movements, they will say, I've never felt so empowered. I've never felt like I belong to something in my life. This is magical. And you can go see them, and they are with their brothers and their sisters, and they feel connected, and they feel in common cause, except, is it adding or is it taking away?
Simon, as we talk about that, what's happening in America right now, the left, the right, I'm not from there, but I can give you my observation. The Americans
Please.
have stopped. They have stopped to listen to each other. You are from the left side, don't talk to me. Something powerful that I work in my community. Really amazing. This is something that I will never leave. So our elders used to sit under the tree, and they'll bring every side of the extreme, and they'll be like, let's first understand why Simon is behaving like that. Why? So I'll be like, why is Simon angry at us? Simon is angry at us because Simon did not eat food the last 2 days. And nobody have come to ask Simon, like, Simon, do you need some food? So he's just angry to these people, right? So I felt like if Americans can start understanding, listen to each other's side, not what they're doing now, but go under the roots of it and be like, why are you behaving this way? I will bring a lot of understanding. But right now, they are all right. And when you are all right, Simon, that's the end. You have to have something called, I want to listen to you from love. Right? What is going on? Because I think that's the way. I think that's happening in America now. So I feel like what is happening, it has to change. People have to start listening. So that's my feeling, Simon. I don't know. I'm an outsider, so I can't talk to the West.
So what you're saying is the elders will sit with the varying parties. They will listen. They will listen, and then they will summarize and find what the common ground and overlap is, and what they will help translate what one party is feeling so the other party can have empathy and understand. They may not agree, but they can understand. And so what you're highlighting is the importance of leadership.
Yes.
And the value of leadership. And this is the other thing I learned when I visited these poor neighborhoods, these poor communities in rural Kenya, is I write books about leadership. And I learned from them, they're doing everything right. We met one of the mamas who organized some of the other women to teach them how to dig for the garbage, how to get rid of garbage. So it's not just all over the farm, but they can dispose of it properly, and how to go to the bathroom and to build an outhouse for sanitary reasons. And you start to see how she organizes her community, and she's doing everything that I write in my books, and she has no education, and she's doing everything right. And it's just common sense, which is, as you said it, which is to I am you and you are me and you are me, and because the Ubuntu, because we need each other. We need each other. I cannot do this alone. We're going to do this together. And I was just struck by how it's so good leadership is necessity.
Yes.
And here, the fact that I have to write about it is I think because it's a luxury, because we are the addiction to wealth and the ability to create wealth is so pervasive that we forget the skill. We don't have the struggle. It goes back to your need for struggle, which is when there is struggle, we do the right thing. We do not yet recognize in our nation the shared struggle that we are all facing. And there is one. And we have not yet recognized that all of our children are being hurt. And all of us are being hurt by the state of the country. All I know is talking to you makes me feel hopeful. Because if a young man can experience the generosity of a stranger, to be so inspired to start a charity, to help other people, that grows and grows and grows, to where now you have 1,000 staff members and you're helping millions of people. The ripple of a small act of kindness. It's the old chaos theory of a butterfly in China flaps its wings and there's a hurricane, in Alabama, right? This is living proof of what it is. One man buys a mango and millions of people get fresh water. You are an absolute inspiration.
Thank you.
How can we help you? How can we help your organization? What is it that you need from us?
I think someone is just for people to know about what we're doing, to learn from us. In my work, meeting people in America, we have really transformed the people in the West who are willing to listen, right? We have changed the way they see things, the way they, so, and the power of hope. So just as I finish with Simon here, is that hope is not only for those who are poor in materials. Everyone needs hope. Even up today, I still look forward for hope, because hope is that light that you see at the end of tunnel. We all have that light at the end of tunnel in our life. So it's something that I always look forward for. For me, it's hope. Shining hope for communities. SHOFCO.
Yeah. For anyone who is interested in learning more about your organization, we will put links into all of the notes. And if anybody wants to volunteer and go work in Kenya with you, go to their website and learn more. You, Kennedy, are an inspiration. I'm so glad I got to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time. An absolute joy. An absolute joy.
Me too. Thank you so much. I hope to see you in Kenya.
So good.
Next time. Yes.
I would like that very much. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you'd like even more optimism, check out my website, simonsinek.com, for classes, videos, and more. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other.